Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carla and I have Denise Williams here with me today. And our goal is to talk about mental health related issues and the stigma surrounding them. So we're glad you guys are here with us, and we're going to talk about something a little bit different, or at least different maybe for most people. You have the distinction of being a Gold Star mom.
Yes.
And while on the surface that might sound like a really fabulous thing, I know it is not one that you ever longed for.
So, Gold Star Mother is the club no one wants to join.
Right.
It means that your child has lost their life um, in combat with the enemy during a time of war. So, yes, my son was killed in action in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So, the military recognizes the families, and it's the military Congress recognizes the families with a distinction of a title.
Right. And for you, you get Gold Star mom.
I get Gold Star Mom, yes.
So tell me, what does that, besides a title and a loss, what does that get you?
It's a very interesting mix, and the best phrase for it is an impossible mixture of pain and pride.
Okay.
My son grew up and did something so spectacular that he's received awards and medals and recognition and all of that, which is, how can a parent be other than proud?
Right.
But it also cost him his life.
Right.
And it's a pain that can't be described. There's all different types of loss. But burying a child violates the natural order of life.
Yeah.
It's not when you lose your spouse, when you lose a sibling
Or a parent.
or a parent, it's kind of in the realm of the expected. This is the way life goes, particularly with your parents.
Right.
If you lose your spouse, no one wants to think of it that way, but it's possible to have another relationship.
Okay, sure.
There's no replacing a child.
Right.
If you have, my son was my only child, so the loss is complete, including the loss of the name mom. When you lose your parents, you're an orphan. When you lose your spouse, you're a widower or widower. But there's no word for a mother who no longer has a child.
Hmm. I never
So
thought about that. Yeah.
it's it's heavy, and I think it's part of the reason that the Gold Star mother is such an important identity for those who have other children, more children. It's still some recognition of the child that is no longer there.
Okay.
That's what the title means. We we began be called we began being called Gold Stars in 1918 in World
Okay.
War One, when the habit was families who had a member in service, they would have a banner in their window, in their front window, to denote that they had a family member off serving in war, and it's a white banner with a red trim around the edge and a blue star in the middle. When that service member was killed, that star would be covered in gold thread. That's where the gold star came from.
Okay. All right.
So the Gold Star mothers started because one mother was waiting to hear from her child. He had not written in quite a while, and this is again 1918, 1919, so it was letters and it took time.
Right. Not efficient United States
Yeah.
Postal Service, yes.
And it was, during a time of war and letters coming across the ocean and all the rest. So she lived in Washington, D.C., and she hadn't gotten the letter, so she started going to Walter Reed Hospital and greeting every shipment or every shipload of soldiers coming home injured, looking for her son, looking for news of her son, because dog tags and all of those identification things didn't necessarily stay with a person.
Sure.
So When news finally came and it was confirmed that her son was not coming home, um, she, as women did at the time, they went home and she dressed all in black and basically stayed in bed for 2 weeks. 100% expected. And then one day she woke up and realized that all of those boys that she had been talking with for weeks, looking for her son, they were all somebody's son.
Oh, sure.
And their mothers couldn't be there. This is over 100 years ago. Transportation across the country, it couldn't be done. So she took off the black and she dressed in white, of service and to reflect the purity of the sacrifice of her son. And she went back to Walter Reed.
Nice.
And she just started talking with the soldiers again, writing letters, holding their hands, reading to them. Made such a nuisance of herself that they finally gave her a job. It's truth.
Okay, lady, since you're going to be here, you might as well be official.
Yep.
Okay.
And you're going to take care of the rest of the mothers who are just like you doing the same thing.
Ah.
So then she organized both the Blue Star mothers, the mothers whose children were living, presumed living and still in service, and the Gold Star mothers.
Nice.
And in 1928, it was congressionally chartered, the American Gold Star Mothers, as a veterans service organization. So our mission is simply, we take care of those who come home.
Nice.
Simple and short. And we exist, our healing comes from being in service and taking care of our children's brothers and sisters.
So let me ask you this, because I mean, even in the story about the, about the original woman, she hears this news and she goes home and she's in bed for 2 weeks, and typical, or should I say expected, is that, hey, I'm going to go mourn in private. I'm going to go kind of hide away and just kind of be with myself, right? But this designation, unfortunately, fortunately, depending on which way you want to look at it, really doesn't allow that.
Very true. I mean, you of course can choose, but the reality is you're going to be contacted by those who served with your son or daughter. They need to fulfill the second half of the oath. The private oath. Everybody knows the public oath that, raise their hand and I'm going to protect and defend the Constitution. The private oath is the conversation that they have with each other. Hey man, anything happens to me, take care of my family.
Okay.
So they need to reach out to us because that's a promise that they've made to each other. And we reach out to them because we're fulfilling our child's half of that promise to them. So it's very healing for both sides, and it's very helpful for both sides. It can be hard, it can be draining. There can be times, particularly early on, where you want to hide away because you feel like you're in a three-ring circus. And
yeah, I can imagine.
Media everywhere, and it's strange because everyone who's lost someone wants the entire world to stop for at least a moment and recognize something significant has happened.
Right.
We have that grace. We have that blessing. That does happen. But it's a situation where be careful what you wish for because that attention can be pretty hard to take, particularly in the beginning when you are very raw and you have no idea how you're going to navigate this new world of loss, this new world of grief. And on top of that, this new world of the military and veteran community and the Gold Star community that you probably didn't know existed.
Yeah, it's a bittersweet place to be, right? But if I'm hearing you correctly, um, there's there is joy as well in there. So I'm wondering, what do you think is or is there something that you thought was the most joyous, or something that brought you the most joy out of being a Gold Star mom?
There's nothing that is just simple, unadulterated joy. everything is a mixed bag of emotions. So I have friends now that I've known just in the past 10, going on 11 years, that are closer to me than any human I've ever known prior. The bond that we share is indescribable, and I will know these people till the day I die.
Sure.
And that's joyful, absolutely joyful, except for the reason that we know each other.
Right.
So this is what I mean. There's nothing that is simple and unadulterated. The fact of that is joyful as well, because it's peaceful and it's comforting. Everything in life has a up and a down. Everything has an equal and an opposite.
Right.
When we are living with both sides all of the time, that balance, it's in front of your face whether you want it or not, can be very helpful and very healing, and it can grant you a lot of peace.
Well, they're a group of women who know exactly what you're going through. So
Exactly.
I've lost people, but I can't even begin to imagine the kind of loss you've had. We don't have a shared experience, right?
But you don't have to have that complete shared experience. What you have to have is just simple empathy and openness to empathy.
For sure. Yeah. But those Gold Star moms have that little extra oomph.
Because of the public position that we often have, public, whether it's in the civilian community, but particularly in the military and the veteran community, because of that public position, it's something that we learn. We're almost forced to learn it. And I say that with a smile because, again, it's bittersweet and it's melancholy, but there's actual joy in it too.
So I'm going to throw this out there because I know this is something you've been working on. I know that we're going to have a special celebration pretty soon for your son.
Yes.
So you want to share, real briefly, what's coming up soon?
Yes. So the legislature has recently passed, in the past 5 years, a new way, a simplified way of having a road or a highway named for a fallen soldier. And the road that runs through Route 59 from Caton Farm Road on the south to 126, it's a 5-mile stretch, is going to be named PFC Andrew Murray Memorial Highway for my son. And that's coming up on October 24th, the official sign unveiling and all of that. And it's been quite a few years that it's been coming, and I've known about it, but now that it's actually coming, it is the perfect example of that bittersweet combination of joy and sadness.
Yeah.
There's a road named for my son because he's not here.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you for sharing some, a lot of really good information because I don't think a lot of people really know much about Gold Star moms or having roads named after, lost ones. But I know it was tough, and I appreciate the fact that you were willing to share despite that fact. So thank you for joining us. And remember, you can change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on your overall well-being. So until next time, continue working on being the best you possible.